If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Empire.
Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Conn Report wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media, AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. Don't forget, you can read my work on ESPN.com. And for you gold members, not going to be doing the private Zoom this week, just going to be too hard. The schedule changed on Thursday. Got my mom coming down on Friday, so it's just going to be very difficult. We'll get back to it next week, and we'll go from there. So I appreciate your patience with me. Always enjoy doing those. You know that. And they've been a lot of fun lately. And so we'll get back to it after the Falcons game, before the Cowboys game. There you go. So anyway, in a minute, I'll be joined by the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein, as we discuss the upcoming game against the Falcons, a lot about Jayden Daniels, not so much about the X's and O's of this matchup. I'm going to be doing that for my 5 things I think on Saturday, just kind of looking at obviously a lot of topics as I always do, including some of the game, but we really kind of dug into more about Jayden Daniels, where he's at, et cetera, and then just a lot of other topics with that. So you'll enjoy it because right now they're 10-5. What aren't you going to enjoy with this team? So anyway, before we get there, a couple updates. As I record this, we don't know yet about Marshawn Lattimore, don't know yet about John Allen either. And so that may be something, but again, I'm taping this Monday night. We would have talked to Dan Quinn on Tuesday. So you may already know this by now. If there is anything out about it, I don't know that there would be, but I would think that there's a good chance that Allen plays on Sunday. The plan seemed to be maybe the ideal scenario was come back last week to practice, come back this week in practice, and then you get ready to play the Falcons and then the Cowboys for them to, in his mind, in their minds, to hopefully get ready for the postseason as well. So anyways, so if that comes out this week, we'll know it. It may not happen until Friday after they give him a full week to see how his body responds. Typically that's how it would go. And then, but anyways, that's, again, it would not surprise me if he plays. It wouldn't shock me if he doesn't, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he plays. So anyways, that's it for me right now. If there's anything that you need to know, it'll be up on ESPN.com or check my Twitter feed, whatever it is. And, but that's enough. So here's my conversation with the voice of the Commanders, Bram Weinstein. All right, Bram, now we're recording this on Monday night, but this is going to air the day after Christmas. So how many Jayden Daniels jerseys were under Christmas trees in the Washington area this week?
I was asked to buy a few at the team store the other day, and they didn't have the one that I was asked to get, the black one. So just a little note to the Commanders. You had a few sales that were lost here by not having in stock probably the most sought after jersey in the NFL right now.
I mean, how I know we've watched him play all year.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get into how big this game is Sunday in a minute, but like, what more can you say about what he's done and what still surprises you about what he does? Anything?
The only thing I would say more about it now is that I think, and I don't want to go through because like if they won Pittsburgh and if they won Dallas, because they easily could have lost Chicago and easily could have lost the other day, to Philadelphia. But like, so I don't want to do that. But let's just say it went really, really well, and they were 12-3 right now. What I would say is I think people would be talking about him as the MVP, that not just the rookie of the year, but the MVP. And he is a top 5 quarterback in the league right now. He is clearly the rookie of the year. He is, and like you can laugh, John.
I'm laughing because I buy it. That's what to me is funny
true.
about it.
Like,
I'm not laughing at the comment.
I'm not towing a weird
it's
line
unreal.
Yeah. I'm not towing a line here. Like,
yeah.
I said this from the get-go. I go, this guy is special. From the first few weeks, it was pretty obvious. Now, where's it going to go? I don't know. And all these stats were coming out. We made fun of it because it was like every week,
I know.
the PR staff and Elias and ESPN would put out these stats. And it was like, not since World War II, not since 1971, not since 1991. And then there's other ones like this past week, he joined Joe Namath and Don Maynard as the only rookie quarterback with 12 touchdowns to a singular receiver, Terry McLaurin, who, if he scores another touchdown off the arm of Jaden Daniels, that'll be a record for a rookie to a receiver, and a franchise record for receptions by any receiver in Washington history. He's doing all this as a rookie. The game the other day, it's so strange. I thought the table stakes were a little odd considering the records of the two teams, and yet coming out of it, I think the world has just realized this guy is special. Mm-hmm. He is special. It's an absurd comeback. It feels almost mathematically impossible that they would have scored the amount of points that they did, because, I was thinking about this part today, which I think is really completely overlooked. All right, so they turned the ball over 5 times. Really, it's 6 because they had a turnover on downs. They did punt twice, right? Tressway did punt twice. So that's 8 possessions, okay? And then in the third quarter, the Eagles had the ball for over 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Think about that for a second. They had the lead, all those turnovers, ran off 10 minutes off the clock, and Washington still ended up with 36. There's a lot of, how did he do it? How did he do it? He's amazing. That's how he did it.
Well, and to be clear, when I laughed, it's because I agree with you, and I just think it's unbelievable that in the first year, we're not even through the first year, that we're already to me, it's accepted. This is who he is, right? So I think he's in that category. Every number, every metric puts him there, but also your eyeball puts him there because he's just different. And, I find it funny or somewhat unreal that it's just this is where he is, because we see it. And it's also Bram, the other thing is too, and I also laugh at anybody who thinks that Bo Nix maybe was having a better year than him. Come on, they're different. They're different, folks. It's just different. Ask 31 other teams
that are compared to. He's got stats that are compared to Cam Newton, Kyler Murray, RG3's rookie years. I thought this early when he was posting the ridiculous completion percentages that he was doing every single week. Then off the Cincinnati game, I said at the time, I go, this guy is having an unprecedented best rookie season by any quarterback ever. Name another one. And it's only getting more and more validated as it goes along here. It's the wins, it's the clutch gene. I think ESPN posted something he has multiple game-winning touchdown passes in the final 30 seconds of a game or overtime. He's the first quarterback since the merger to do that. Not rookie.
Right. I mean, he has
anyone.
Anyone. According to True Media, he is the top-rated quarterback. Dak Prescott is a little bit higher, but he hasn't played and he doesn't have near the attempts. The number 1 rated quarterback in the final 2 minutes of the game is Jaden Daniels, and it's not a surprise. So that's where we're at with this, and the MVP stuff. You're right, a few games he'd be right in that discussion, and it just because this is, and just here's the other thing, Bram, is he's not throwing to a bunch of studs, right? He wasn't. Everybody talks about Caleb Williams going to the perfect situation. The perfect situation is with the coaching staff that knows how to use guys and develop players. So he is getting production out of Olamide Zaccheaus, Jamison Crowder, guys who were not at the front of a roster coming into the year, right? And so it's just, that's where I think that's, the other day, like you said, they had no business winning with all those turnovers and no run game against the NFL's top defense. And I know that Jalen Hurts is a really good cover corner and probably would have put a stop to it, for all the Eagle fans. But kidding aside, that's incredible what they did. And it's because of him. And here's the other thing, Bram. I didn't think he was as sharp as he's been in some other games. He made big plays and then he just boom, 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 boom.
This overlooked. We didn't do this on this venue a week ago, but I talked about it on my show and we talked about it privately. The New Orleans game, his performance was overlooked because of the circumstances, right. Because New Orleans, because of the weird clock error, because Washington almost blew the lead, because they had a 2-point conversion and people were writing they were lucky to win. And if you just go look back at it, Like they weren't lucky to win. Like they should have won the game 40-7.
Right.
Like if he hits one of those passes to McLaurin in any one of the three, one should have been a PI.
Right.
The other one was a near miss, and one was just off by a hair. He hits any of those. The game's never actually close. And he made 8 Superman plays in that game too that like got completely overlooked. The point really is this. Everyone around the country is seeing highlights of him. I'm watching every play and pushing it up against the competition and going, this guy is superior to everybody else on the field. We haven't had that in a very long time. And I'll tell you this, like if for some reason, and I don't expect this to happen, but like if for some reason the Eagles like flame out and lose the last 2 and Washington wins the last 2, and remember, Washington is on primetime this week, so everybody's going to see it. And let's say he looks like this on primetime again. If Washington somehow won the NFC East by the end of this, I think we might have a real conversation about him being the MVP.
I think you have to have a conversation and how deep people want to go with it. But there's, I mean, it's hard to argue that because when you look at like, you can't, it's hard to argue. It would be hard to argue that if you get to that point, for sure. But let's look at the game a little bit too. Not so much, scouting the Falcons and all that. I'll be doing a lot of that for Saturday's my 5 things I think, but just in terms of the magnitude of the game and the atmosphere that you're anticipating for that with a chance to clinch at home. How big is this? I mean, obviously it's big, but you've been a lifelong fan. You're calling the games now. What's this mean?
I mean, first of all, this has been a joyride this year. I mean, like not only are they winning, the way they're winning is just so exhilarating. And every week, I just don't know what I'm going to get. And this past week was amazing. I thought, like, just to go back to last week, just for a moment, I thought the table stakes were weird leading into it. Like, I think we talked about it late in the week, and I'm like, it doesn't feel like as big a game as the records and the rivalry would suggest. We haven't had something like that in a while. Philadelphia comes to Washington at 12-2. Washington's at 9-5. They're probably both in the playoffs. This is a show me game for the Commanders, and it didn't feel like it had that juice. And then all of a sudden, when you come out of it, though, the Eagles fans are losing their mind about the way their team lost. They're trying to come up with any possible excuse. None of them fly, And Daniels comes out of this looking like, oh my God, like he's a unicorn. And so there's a lot that kind of follow it. So now they got to follow it up. And earlier in the season, there were many occasions where I go, okay, are they going to really, off of the Cincinnati game, beat Arizona on the road on a short week after having this, oh my God, they're amazing. Is this real? After the Hail Mary, I'm like, all right, that's crazy. You got to get over it. They went up to New York. The game was probably a little closer than it should have been, but they did what they needed to do. They've had one game where I felt like they were outclassed entirely. That was just Dallas.
Right.
And so I believe that they will put this behind them because they have over and over and hopefully put on display what we've seen every week, which is consistency in the effort, if not without a lot of mistakes. What they're capable of doing is overcoming a lot of these things. The last 2 weeks, it was their own mistakes that really, I think, ended up getting these games to be topsy-turvy. Their ability to overcome it and win is a sign of what they are and what they're made of. But hopefully this weekend, you'll see a cleaner version of them, one that doesn't involve an anomaly amount of turnovers, one that doesn't involve a lot of penalties, especially in the striking zone parts of the field where they've gotten themselves in trouble over and over. Like I liked what Dan Quinn said the other day when someone said, like, is this a statement win? And he goes, not until we play well, which they didn't.
Right.
That's the incredible part of this. 36 points on the number 1 defense after turning the ball over 5 times, really 6. Like, that's crazy. Like, that is full on crazy. They could have scored 40 points like 8 times this year, and they haven't played what they think is maybe earlier in the year, maybe Carolina, something like that. They haven't played a game that they felt was their best effort, and I would agree. That's the nuttiest part of this Eagles game, that coming out of it, they made so many self-inflicted mistakes over and over and over. They had a 3rd and 16 face mask. Like so many mistakes.
On a 1-yard run.
It's crazy. I know. The Eagles ran the ball to set up a punt, and a face mask extended a drive. Like, that should have beat them against a team like this. It's remarkable, and I'm with Quinn on this. if they play a game that they think is up to their capabilities that's cleaner, what does that look like?
Well, you know, it's funny because during the game, I even tweeted out, you can't beat a good team like the Eagles with 4 turnovers. And I was right, but you can beat them with 5. You can beat them with 5. So clearly, you know, but yeah, 4, that's the limit. But yes, I mean, that's the thing is that, you know, the penalties the last few games had been a lot. And then you have the turnovers with this. And what would it look like? And I think that's where I say, like, I think for this team, we have seen teams here in the past, like 2016, you go back to that one, you can beat the Giants at home and you're in the playoffs. The Giants have already clinched. They're playing their starters, but they've already clinched and you couldn't get it done. And Kirk Cousins laid a big egg, right? And I don't think the one nice thing about this group and this quarterback is that they rise and he rises to a level. The greater the moment, the better I think he enjoys it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so
you can't listen. He's got a clutch gene. He just does. He's got it. He's got it. Whatever it is, he's got it. And I am perpetually shocked every week, knowing the egos of these players, that he walks over to us after the games, does an interview with us, and I swear you would think he just didn't do anything special. Like, he's so humble, so soft-spoken about it. He shrugs it all off like, yeah, that's what I do. And either that's an incredible act, and I don't believe it is,
no, it's not.
or he is just built this way. He expects this of himself. He doesn't find any of it surprising. And he also, like, and I appreciate this most about him, and every one of his teammates talks about it, the coaches talked about it, and we've seen it in action. He works as hard as anybody in that building.
Oh, yeah.
And this is why it's paying off. He clearly is an elite athlete, but he really cares about the sport. I remember Joe Gibbs used to talk about this all the time. You're picking people. The people have to love football. If they don't love football, they won't ascend to be great at it. And he loves the sport. He wants to be great at it. He puts the work in every day. He doesn't think that his you-know-what doesn't stink when he does something crazy great and gets talked about on First Take the next day.
Right.
And if this is what the baseline is, I think Fred Smoot said this early, this is ground zero.
Right.
This is ground zero. Like, what happens next? And next is the next 2 weeks and beyond, hopefully into the playoffs. And I got to tell you, off of what happened on Sunday, I don't want to hear about Kenny Pickett or the ludicrous, they had a false start or penalties or all that stuff. I don't want to hear it. I'm not sure what they're capable of. This is why I was yelling and you laughed at me in the middle of the season. And I said, at the trade deadline, they need to go get somebody because they can win now. And I know that that sounds crazy, but they can. You could just see it. Give them a chance to win.
Well, I don't think you've ever understood why I was laughing at your exuberance, not the idea, but you've never understood that. So, but that's what it was always. I enjoyed when you would get on that rant, because, but
Like
I
pushing
still,
my buttons.
yeah, but I would also say, like, I think they also have a realistic view of still where they're at because the Lattimore trade was now and really for the next few years. So I don't know that they're looking at themselves. But here's the thing. Like you get
But
in
they
that.
got him now for the now too. I
Oh,
like the
well,
whole thought process behind it, but they
oh,
got
yeah,
him
yeah,
now for the now too.
well, let's see. Well, you got to still wait and hear about that hamstring. But to
That's
your
right.
point, so here's the thing, though. When you look at the NFC, I mean, all your goal is to get into the playoffs, and then you see what the hell happens because Detroit's defense is banged up. Now that's a really good team, like it's a really good offense, etc. But they have a lot of injuries. You got the Eagles that you played with them in Philly and you beat them at home. I don't, I know Jalen Hurts was missing, but they've only scored more than 33 a few times this year, and they ran the ball really well, so they still had a lot there. But so you beat them at home. So can you beat them on the road? And yeah, you feel pretty good about it. So like there's the top teams, I think, again, the Detroit, and Minnesota has played really well, but could you beat them, right? I mean, should you be afraid of them if you're Washington? I don't know. So I don't think they'd be afraid of anybody. But the point is, you don't know what's going to happen once you get in there. And so the goal is to get in there and then go. And I think here's the other part, Bram, whoever they play is not going to want to face Jaden Daniels.
No.
Like it's going to scare them. It's going to scare them because
we haven't had this in a long time.
No.
Like Darren Rizzi said it at the end of the Saints game. He said, we went for 2, partially because, we wanted to end the game and partially because we didn't want to give that guy the ball back.
Right.
Like he's one of those people now. don't give the ball back to him.
Right.
Like the reality is like, look, I mean, we could say this about a lot of the games this year. Devontae Smith makes that catch. This game's over. They don't actually win. The fact that he got the ball back, they did. The Pittsburgh game, I was ticked off after it because I didn't like that spot on that fourth down call. And the NFL robbed us of another one of these moments where you're going to see him. And I have never been more confident in a quarterback. And I can't believe he's a rookie, but like in the 2-minute drill, both sides of the half, like I am with him, it's like when the pressure ramps up, his blood pressure goes down.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah, and you're right about like not to get into Devontae Smith drop, but like shoot, you could go back to the Pittsburgh game. Well, if so and so catches this ball here, if he makes this throw here,
Sure.
if this block is held here, they win that game too. So that's a hard but yes, that was the case there. But let's look again Sunday for the atmosphere. What are you anticipating? I just remember, were you at the 2012 game against Dallas? Were you?
No, I was up at ESPN at that
All right.
point.
Okay, that's what I thought. So that game was tremendous. The atmosphere was as good as it's been. That may have been the best atmosphere because the crowd before the game, it's all the "We Want Dallas." There's 82,000, legitimate 82,000 in the stadium. You're not seeing yellow seats, empties in the clubs. So like it was packed and it was great atmosphere, big win, as great an atmosphere as you'll see. Like, what are you anticipating for Sunday?
I mean, I do expect an extremely partial Commanders crowd, which would be great because Atlanta's not a big traveling circus like Philadelphia or Pittsburgh or something like that. And there's a lot that goes into how these tickets have been acquired in the first place, which I don't want to go into. But I just, not unlike this is not one of those, opponents where I would expect they would have had a lot of tickets to start with. So that's the good news, number one. Two, this team has beyond earned the support for this. Like, look at their record at home. Coming in, they were the number 2 home offense in the NFL behind Detroit. So they've been better at home than they've been on the road offensively. They've been blowing out certain teams. And I haven't looked at Atlanta enough to have any kind of real feel about what the game's going to be like. Cause I've seen highlights of Penix. That's it. So I don't really want to say much about it, but to your question about the atmosphere, I think this is going to be lit up and this is your last chance this year in all likelihood. I got these weird pipe dreams that Philadelphia gets real mad at each other and skids off the rails. And honestly, them losing to Dallas this week, especially if Jalen Hurts doesn't play, doesn't feel all that preposterous. If you watch them the other night and how hard that they're playing, but them losing to the Giants in week 18 does feel preposterous to me. So they're going to win the NFC East. And so Washington, the best they're going to get is a wild card. And the best wild card they're going to get is the 6th seed. So this is it. Like, this is the last chance you're going to get this year to be at home with them. Sunday night profile game. Jaden's done amazing things. National stage. I expect this thing to be a party, like a lit up party. And I hopefully we're validated by that this weekend.
Yeah, and it's nice to see for the fan base to be rewarded by that because, as we all know, it's been drudgery going to these games and doing poorly at home, and now you have a quarterback that you can believe in. But also, I think even more than that, Bram, because we spent a lot of time talking about Jaden, obviously and deservedly so. But there are a lot of for a fan, a lot of likable players on this roster between Terry McLaurin and you have guys who are standouts like McLaurin and Bobby Wagner, who do not act like typical stars at all, right? Like Bobby Wagner is as normal a guy as I've ever covered who is that good. And, Terry McLaurin is just not a diva type receiver at all. So you have a lot of guys and Jaden's like that too, that you have high profile players who carry themselves in a much different way, right? And I think so for a fan, it's not just you have Jaden Daniels. This is a likable team. And I think that goes a long way too.
Again, like I don't want to prognosticate the game because again, I haven't really looked at the Atlanta defense that much, but just on its face this week, knowing Brian Robinson really well, because he's one of the carryovers, he's going to want to make up for what happened the other day. And so I expect a big one from him. And I actually think, moving forward here, while Jaden is getting all of the accolades and deserved, he was Superman the other day and really was against New Orleans too, but really the other day was just incredible, like MVP caliber player to do the things that he did. For this team to really kind of make noise in the playoffs, should they get there, they need to travel that run game. That
Yes.
was the best part of their offense for the majority of the season. That has not been the case. Like for the last few weeks, really, New Orleans really stifled them on the ground. And, take away the amazing plays that Jaden
Right.
has, and the pure run game has not been nearly as effective as it was early in the season. I'd like to see that turn back around because I now know what Jaden's capable of. But if they're able to run Robinson the way they were running him early in the season, and
Right.
hopefully Rodriguez and McNichols too, and maybe they get Eckler back, we'll find out in a couple of weeks. That's where I would start to believe noise in January could
Right.
happen
Yeah.
because
Because I think,
you can't demand the quarterback to win every game like that. And
right.
the best attribute of their offense and the profile of the team for the majority of the season was they were a top 5 rush offense. And it wasn't just Daniel scrambling. So that's what I'd like to see Sunday night is B-Rob getting his groove back behind the line and hopefully showcasing the run game that I got accustomed to.
Yeah, I agree. I think that to me is the biggest concern. And my concern with it is I don't think the O-line has been as good as it was earlier this year in terms of opening some holes. And they've lost a little bit more than I've seen in whether tight ends blocking too, whatever. So it hasn't been as consistent or as good as it was even a few weeks ago against Tennessee. And like you're right, you have to get that together and you can't like Robinson. I know he had the fumbles. Those only fumbles he had all year, but you can't afford another game like that. But you're right, like Bram, I think if you really want to make noise, you've got to be a bit more that I go back to 2012, like what made that go as much as anything was Robert, but also Alfred Morris, like, and that
Yep.
zone blocking scheme, that was fantastic. So I agree. You've got to get that more consistent and not, Daniels can take the pressure. He's used to that. He can handle the burden, but you just don't want to make yourself one dimensional and just rely on him, just like,
Yeah.
to do everything for you.
Yeah, I mean, this past week they made him he had to go win the game for him,
Yeah.
and he did, which is against the team that he did it against is very telling. They were clearly invested, and in my opinion, kind of unhinged the way that they acted during the game. And I liked what Nick Sirianni said when he called them sloppy afterwards because they took a lot of bad penalties.
Yeah.
They had mistakes substituting. They were shook by what the guy was doing to them. That 4th and 11 play. Holy cow. I mean, this guy's had so many highlights this year, but that one, they went for a 4th and 11. It wasn't there. He just takes off and jukes 7 people. I mean, but that's Lamar Jackson stuff. Like there's no comp to things like that when your quarterback's going to go do things like this.
No, and it's funny because he talked about, I talked about this after the game, but he just swerves through traffic. And he said, and I remember talking to somebody about this before the draft, maybe it was right after, talking about how the influence of playing flag football and you kind of, you got to move your hips to avoid having the flagpole. I'm like, I just think that's how he naturally runs. Like he's just very elusive when he runs and doesn't require a lot of stop and start to do it. So it's just, and it makes it incredible, but he just has that knack. And that's why I say like nobody's going to want to face Jaden Daniels in the playoffs. And
I'm a flag football legend, John. So now what you're telling me is I missed my calling. I could have been a Commander.
and let me say this, like, well, I have a flag football story, but I'm not going to tell it now. It's too long and nobody wants to care, but it involved me coaching a team, but nobody, no, I'm not going to do it. Nobody gives a crap. The bottom line is Jaden Daniels is really good. And I think Sunday's going to be a lot of fun. And again, like, the last thing too is you look at this entire roster. I think this is what's been impressive to me is, again, as much as we talk about Jaden, there are so many guys on this roster who would you have anticipated what they've gotten from them at the beginning of the year? Sheldon Day, like I think he's done a
Yeah.
really good job lately, and I give them a lot of credit for how they developed it. Jalen Holmes wasn't even here, and he's helping them. Carl Davis wasn't
Yes.
here, and he's helping them. Zacchaeus, like Jamison Crowder, I mean, he goes in when he's been healthy, he contributes, and Zacchaeus contributes. It's just, it's amazing. I think what they've got. Igbenogany, again, is another guy that has contributed when maybe people didn't expect it because of what they thought of him from the past, et cetera. But yet they've gotten contributions from so many people who maybe were not anticipated to be anything other than, maybe some camp competition or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think that goes back to buy-in. That goes back to Quinn.
Yeah.
Like that
And Peters too, and then Peters and his group.
Peters and his group, they've relied on a lot of veterans. They got a lot of veterans to buy in and sign here. I really appreciated what Quinn said about Bobby Wagner. It was the first time I heard him extensively talk about him after he named him a captain last week, where he basically said it meant a lot to me that he wanted to come here. It means that he was buying into me. And that was that when that one happened, that was the one that really stood out to me, because I'm like, this guy's never played on the East Coast, right? This team is not on the quote unquote precipice of winning, but he came here anyway. And that was the surefire sign of everything we had heard about Quinn and how players like and want to play for him. Right. And so it's not just Jaden Daniels. They've got buy-in. And it's evident. You don't win a game like you do on Sunday unless you have it. And they've shown this over and over. They're not the most talented roster. If they're honest, they'll tell you that, but like they have a buy-in, and the buy-in matters. And I can't wait to see how far it takes them, because it's not just they have this all-world quarterback who's able to do superhero things. They got a team around him that seems humble, selfless, like non-diva-ish, and totally bought in. I saw the video after the game. The team puts out some of the videos in the locker room, and the welcome for Dan Quinn walking in to talk to the team was very telling, extremely telling. Like they did this for the coach. The Joe Witt clip is hilarious, like with him doing this thing. And like, there is a lot of teams talk about chemistry, brotherhood, all that stuff. And then you find out how true that is, as the season goes along. This one, it's every bit of what they said it was. And it's just been, I'll just go back to the word I used earlier. It's been a joyride to just have the kind of proximity that I've had to it. And I just can't wait to see where it goes. I'm very excited for Sunday. It's a playoff game, basically. It's a playoff game for Atlanta for sure. And it's a playoff game for Washington too, because they'll have options in week 18 if they win this game to determine what they want to do. And then if they do win on Sunday, I don't know what to expect in the playoffs, but I do know this, like the stage is not too big for them. So I just cannot wait to see what it is.
No, I think that's a good place to end too. And I agree with you. I'm looking forward to it just as a reporter. It's fun. We've covered a lot of games in December where it feels like another exhibition game, because it doesn't matter and the team stinks, whatever, and you're looking to the draft. So to sit there and go to a game where you're talking about the implications, playoffs, et cetera, you can clinch. The atmosphere is going to be great. If you're a football fan, this is what you want to be a part of. And so I think that is where it's going to be a lot of fun, Bram. And I agree. I think this team is a buy-in, but it's also their mentality all year is they believe in themselves. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks of them. They believe in themselves. And it's a lot about five, but it extends beyond that too. And I think that's what's been fun to watch, because you don't always get that. This is a rare team for me to cover for sure, but I also think for anybody to cover, they're going to max out this year, and that doesn't always happen. So
no, it doesn't. I'm beyond excited about it. And the last thing I'll just say about it real quick, if they do qualify for the playoffs, and there's a lot of it's likely, hopefully it happens, but if they do, think about, they haven't been in the playoffs very often, but think about the last couple of times they were in, they were 7-9 when they went in 2020 and played Tom Brady. No one thought they were winning. There was no oh, they're going to go on some magical run. Nobody thought that. Then what? 2016 was
2015.
2015, Kirk. They got run by Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers. Nobody thought that they were going to go on some kind of crazy run. 2012, you could buy it a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
But Robert was hurt going into the game, and then obviously it fell apart in the game. They've been in the playoffs rarely, and the times they've been in, there was no, I don't know what I don't know. I'm not sure what the ceiling is. Can't wait to see what these guys do. And that's what I feel like this time too, I think is what's really amazing about it.
Yeah, and in fairness, in 12, they had won 7 in a row, and he was hurt, but there was still a lot of hype around them that if they get through that, but the injury certainly curtailed that. So anyway, it's fun to cover this. It's fun to talk football late in the year instead of draft picks, free agents, firings, et cetera. So anyway, Bram, looking forward to this. Thanks for coming on. As always, check them out on Empire and ESPN 630. You got all this stuff going on. Bram, thanks a lot. We'll talk, and for everybody else, I'll be back on Saturday with my 5 things I think. Talk to you next time.